Today I'm going to show you how to process chickens ethically, humanely, and just to get it done the right way. Now, the old practices of butchering chickens, and I know many people still do this, is to just get a cleaver or an axe, but there's a newer way to do it, and that newer way is kill cones. Now, there's a few benefits to having this kill cone set up, and I'm going to explain why. When it's in the kill cone, it's stationary. It also allows the bird to calm down. So you hold it close to you and you want a finger or two in between his legs, and you should just be able to just kind of hold them, have them nice and relaxed. You don't want the bird all agitated and flapping around and having this blood pumping right before you kill it. So you should be able to just hold its wings like this. Just keep it nice and relaxed. Now, once your chicken is relaxed and in the kill cone, you're gonna go to the jugular, which is right under the neck right here. You're gonna wanna hold the chicken's head down and you'll be able to see it right there. Just hold it lightly. You don't wanna snap its neck. You don't wanna pull it or anything. Get your sharp knife ready, which is very much needed for this process to be done properly, and give it a quick slit. Now, especially for you newbies, as soon as you do that, just know that you've done the right thing. It is flatlined, it's not feeling any more pain, it is fully dead. Anything beyond that is strictly the autonomic nervous system pumping that blood flow out, which is good. That way you won't get any clotting. You are gonna see kicking and everything, but that's just the nervous system working. It's all fine. So we want the temperature about 150, and that's gonna give it a proper scald. If I had to say there's one most important thing, part of this whole process, that's gonna make you have either a terrible time or a good time during your processing, it's the scald. So as the birds are bleeding out, that's gonna take about 3.5 minutes for, basically you wanna be able to lift the leg after a few minutes and let go and have it completely drop. As we're doing this, we're gonna check the temperature, and we want the temperature at 150, like I said. Within a few degrees ahead or below is okay. But like I said, this is an extremely important part of the process, so I like to try to get it right at 150. Okay, so we got it right at 150. This is good to go. So I wanted this to be a little bit more realistic and less of kind of a staged butcher, to give you the realities that you're going to be facing during your butcher. And one of them is that pretty quickly you're going to have dirty water in here. Now, that's another thing. If the temperature is perfect, it will make it better, but once the water starts to get dirty, and if you're off temp, it's going to make your scald and then your plucking consequently very terrible. So we are dealing with a little bit dirty water here, so you are going to see that it isn't perfect like it is the first few birds when the water is brand new and full of soap. So we use Dawn dish soap, and we just squirt a little bit in, not really a measured out process. And with the plucking, it just helps release those feather follicles, and it makes for a clean bird for the next stage in the process. So after the bird's bled out for a few minutes, again, you want to make sure that nothing's moving, right? You want to make sure that the nervous system has completely stopped and everything's going to be okay. Now, we scald ours at 150, again, very important, and we do that for about 20 seconds. Now, other places online or AI, whatever, is going to tell you 30 seconds to 2 minutes. I highly suggest you don't go any more than 30 seconds. What's going to happen with that is you're going to essentially start cooking the outside of your bird, and the skin is going to start to tear. And especially if you're selling this to customers, it's not going to be a pleasant, professional quality bird. So what we'll do is we'll dip it in, and we're going to dip it in with the feet. Then I'm going to flip it over and start dipping it with the head, and that flashing is kind of what's going to create that shock to the system and loosen up those follicles. So what you want basically at a proper scald, this is the skin off the feet. You want that skin right after the scald to be peeling off. And if it's not, you haven't scalded it enough. This plucker, basically it's dryer turned upright, and the bottom rotates like this, and then come zoom in here, love. It has all these nubs on the side, so this rotates, and then it hits all the nubs and it turns the chicken around. As it's going, it's taking all the feathers off. Okay, so if you have a mechanical plucker, you're also gonna want a hose and you're gonna wanna spray water. That's another thing that kind of shocks the follicles and helps them release. All right, cool. Now, if you're new to this, or if you've never taken a life of your own for your own consumption or food, or like most beginners, if you just plain don't know how you feel about it, I find it is helpful to really remember and focus on your why. Why are you doing this? Think of all the people getting sick from the food in the store. Personally, I think about my kids, and I want my kids to have the healthiest food possible. And this chicken, being raised this way and butchered properly, is definitely a good way to feed your kids in the most healthiest way. So it's a pretty clean bird, but like I said, once the water gets a little bit dirty, it's not going to do 100% of a pluck. From here, this is kind of our midpoint in our setup, where if it doesn't do 100% of a plucking, then we finish everything up here. And just the way we do it, this is also where we cut out the oil glands and do the feet. And you know what? For the sake of the video, I'm gonna take the head off. My knife is right there. Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, grab my sharp knife here. I'll make sure I add that importance of a sharp knife in the next step. So how I do it is you kind of you want your hands moving all the time. You don't need to stop. Sometimes there's some pin feathers that are hard at the bottom. We used to take all the time in the world to get those out. Now we wait till after the ice bath because they seem to come out a lot easier, and you don't waste half as much time doing it. And again, I don't get every single feather on here. By this point, it's not really feathers. They're just kind of little hairs that you're getting rid of. There, just kind of moving. There. And then here, there's a little valley in here. And basically, my wife does it differently, but she does it flipped over like this, to each to own. I like to find the valley here because it's very obvious from eyesight. So I find this valley here, that's where you make your cut, and it just comes off very easily. If you're forcing it, you're hitting bone, and that's not good. Just like that. But I throw those in the bucket. We feed the feet to our dogs. You can use them for broth. I'm sure there's many other recipes that you can use the feet for. Other cultures really like the feet. Our dogs like the feet, and that's what we give them. Every year we've been critiquing our area so it's kind of streamlined, and we're being as fast and as efficient as we can be. Usually, like I said, my wife is on the scalding, plucking, and then the mid area. So what she would do is bring it in, and then we have kind of an intermediate bath right here. So it can start the chilling process a little bit because these birds are pretty warm when they come out. So I would then take it from this intermediate area to my area where I'm doing all the processing myself, and then move to the front. So I'm usually at the end of the process and at the beginning, and then my wife does the middle, and sometimes we've had some friends come out and help too, and that's great. But you want it streamlined. one line would be best if you could do everything, but we have a structure, or a square structure here, so we kind of have it streamlined in like a big U, where it starts out here, makes its way, and by the end everything's finished and it's in the cooler. So like I said, every year we try to make it a little bit better, a little bit more efficient, and that's kind of the name of the game. Or we do our absolute best at cleaning these up at the quality control at the end of the process, and that's after they've chilled for at least 3 hours, because customers don't really like to have hairs there. If you pay attention to some of your store-bought chicken, lately, at least for us, the quality's been going downhill from our store-bought chicken, and you'll find hairs all over the place. And I mean, they are fine, they'll burn off, it's not that big of a deal, but you do have to kind of meet your customers' expectations and what they're used to. Sometimes, if you're just finishing up the plucking, give it a little bit of a dunk in water. Lots of times it's covered in hairs that are already plucked, and you're just wasting your time too. Another pro tip that I was taught day one of learning how to butcher: have a little hand wash area, just soap and water, because there's going to be so many times where you're going to need to take a break and have a drink or do something where you're going to need clean hands. So just very quickly be able to get your hands clean, right? You know, keep things sanitary. We don't want to cross-contaminate things. I mean, when you start butchering, you're here till you're done, pretty much. But you know, you do want to keep your hands clean. So from the intermediate area, we're now on the evisceration part, which is essentially taking out the innards and the guts and everything. So first, there's going to be an oil sac right on the tail. That's why I kind of leave these tail feathers in, and because you can rip it good from here. So there's a little oil gland right here on the tail that if you leave, it's fine if you leave it in, but so I've heard, it can leave a little bit of a funky taste. And we don't want that in our chicken. Now, again, this part is extremely important to have a very sharp knife. I'll leave the rest of these tail feathers in, because after the ice bath, they'll come out just a little bit easier. So again, you're saving yourself time. And if you get to a point like we did a couple years ago where you're doing, I don't know, 75, 100 birds per batch, a few seconds here, a few seconds there, it really does help the whole process when you have a lot of birds running through. So for this part, again, due to YouTube's monetization policies and everything, I'm not going to show you the nitty gritty with this. So what I do for this part is right by the breast, I kind of peel the skin back and then pull on that excess skin. I'll just go right through, make a little slit, and then pull that skin back. And I put my hand right underneath the windpipe, and then you'll get this, what is it, the craw or whatever. It'd be like right here on the bird. It's attached right to that breast meat, so you're going to want to get in there with your thumb or your fingers. I like to try to get my thumb in there and just pull. Sometimes it's a little harder than others because it's very slippery, but you just want to pull away on that. And then I like to get my fingers right in there and kind of loosen up the skin around the windpipe and around that craw. And I find when it gets to the other end, which I'll show you in a minute, it comes out a little bit easier. So I'll get in there, loosen it up. Don't be so hard on yourself if you're a beginner, right? You just got to go for it. What Megan and I will do is, if we're not 100% satisfied with even the look of a bird, and you know, it's not up to our quality that we want to give to our customers, we just keep it for ourselves, because we don't care what it looks like. It all tastes the same. So the oil sac's cut off, the neck is good, the craw's loose, the windpipe's loose. You're gonna come around here to the back, and like right above where the butt is, you're gonna make a horizontal slit. Now, the first couple times I did this, when I first started butchering, I was very nervous. You might be a little bit nervous at the start of this. That's fine. You just gotta go for it. And if it makes you feel better, start with smaller slits and just work your way up little bit by bit. And at this point, you're gonna lift up, and right here, there should be a whole bunch of fat right there. You wanna keep as much of that as possible. That's where the flavor comes from. That's what's really gonna enhance the quality of your meat. So after that is the gizzard, and you're gonna want to just kind of scrape around the gizzard. After you open it up, you're gonna wanna get in there and tear it a little bit. I like to put my 2 fingers right here. You'll feel kind of the hip bones, and you don't want to press right down on the butt because that'll actually force, if there's anything, a little poo or pee left or whatever, that'll actually force it out. You don't want to do that. So that's why I go like this. I push on the hip bones and tear up a little bit, and that'll give you a good cavity to work with. You'll peel that up, and you should have a nice, if you've taken care of your birds good, you'll have a nice layer of fat. You're going to want to keep that. That's what gives the meat more flavor. And it's also adding, you know, if you're selling your birds, a lot of ounces to it too. So if you waste that fat, you're wasting ounces to sell. And so you're making less, and then you're also losing the quality of the taste a little bit as well. So what I like to do, after that fat, you're gonna see the gizzard right away. And at start, I like to take my finger and kind of remove the fat just lightly from that gizzard, and then that fat will actually stay on the top, and then the gizzard will come loose. So you want to do that, and then kind of scrape your hands. Right now I'm scraping the inside with my fingers, going over to the other side, and I'm kind of loosening everything on the inside up. Ideally, if you could get about 18 hours with no food, no grit, nothing, for the chicken's consumption, that'll make your butchering process a whole lot cleaner. You're essentially loosening up all the organs. And then what I do is I'll get these fingers right underneath some of the organs, and then you're grabbing onto it. And then that's what you're pulling out. So you're grabbing the organs, going underneath. Sometimes, hopefully, you can grab the windpipe too, right? Right now, I essentially have the organs like this in like a lock, and then I'm pulling. And you're gonna hold the bottom of it and just pull. And it's all gonna come out one little stream. Everything will be attached to the one pipe that's gonna go to the number 2 area. And with that, this is another part that I used to be extremely nervous when I first started as a beginner. Quite understandable. To cut out the butt, you do not want to cut into it. You don't want to get any of the excrement into your meat. Okay, so the butt's here in the center. You're going to make a cut here while you're holding on to that one line, right? So a cut here, and then this one, you're gonna go deep and scrape underneath it. So you're missing everything, and then it'll just pop out, right? So here, make one cut straight down, this one down while you're holding on to that one line that's connected to the butt, and then it's done. Your bird is now completely separated from all its organs, all the internal stuff that could potentially break and taint the meat. And I like to keep all the innards. This one is good. The lungs actually came out with it. That's pretty sweet. Sometimes the lungs like to stay in there, and then you got to get in there and scrape it out. Right now, actually they're all out. Sometimes they like to stick to that rib cage, and then you can pull it out. But what does like to stick, that I always like to double check for, is the windpipe. Sometimes little bits of it stay in there. And then you can even check by the neck for that too. Now the liver is attached to the gallbladder. And that gallbladder is going to be a little green sac. You want to avoid that like the damn plague. So what I'll do is I'll hold on to the liver, and then just pinch the end of that gallbladder. Get as close to the liver, even a chunk of the liver. You can take it with you, and then just peel that away. There. See, I had a little bit of the liver. What I used to do when I was a beginner, and after breaking a couple gallbladders open, and it's not a good scene. You basically have to turn it into dog food after that. Is I would take a knife and I would cut part of that liver off, And just so 100%, I'm not hitting that gallbladder. I'm not tainting the meat. Some people, they just wash it off. You know, I say don't do it, but do whatever you want to do. Now, I always have buckets underneath, so as soon as I'm done, put that under there. Then you have a separate bucket for all the organs. And like I said, this is the healthiest dog food you're ever going to get. Sometimes I'll keep some giblets, if you will, or some of the, you know, hearts and lungs and whatnot for myself, fried up with some onions. That's really good too. But it also is very healthy dog food. I like to take this leftover skin at the very top of that cavity, lift it up about, I don't know, inch and a half in or so, make a little incision, and that is where I'll put the legs in. And then it's just a little nicer, a little more presentable, and that'll go straight in the cooler. Okay, now that the birds are all done, we're gonna do a cleanup, and then I'm gonna show you what to do with all the offal. I do understand the allure of remaining ignorant, but the cost is not worth it. If we truly want to see change in this world, we have to participate in it. And if you want to live in the country, if you want to homestead, you want to live a life where animals are a part of it, where healthy food is a part of it, where healthy choices are a part of it, you have to actively participate. I'm sure you've realized by now in your life that people don't respect things that they're given for free. Now, I'm not saying that the chicken that we get in the stores isn't free. We definitely pay for that. But when you take the time to wake up early every day, to feed the chickens, to care for the chickens, to move the chickens, to protect the chickens, by the time that chicken gets to your table, you are going to eat every last bit of it. You're going to make soups and broths. You're going to feed your dogs with the extra bits. Rest well, knowing that you've done everything you could. But wait, there's another very important part of this process that you absolutely cannot leave out. At this point, you're going to have buckets full of guts. What are you going to do with all that? If you just leave it out, that can be very unsafe, attracting predators for your kids, for your animals. You don't want that. Believe it or not, digging a hole in the ground and just putting it in isn't the best way to do it. It actually can contaminate the soil if there's a certain amount of it. Composting, that is the best way to do it. Okay, so we're gonna compost all the offal and feathers off somewhere. It's not gonna stink, it's not gonna attract animals, but I always say have a backup just in case it did, in case something happened and it happened to attract an animal. Have it be somewhere a little further away from the kids, further away from the birds and other animals. So we're gonna do that. But now we have to quickly build this thing. So I just got a couple pallets and we're gonna rip them up. Let's go do it. Now, like a complete YouTube newbie, I forgot to check the battery, so unfortunately this part cut out. But what it simply is you're creating a compost. You are layering a bottom or a diaper with a heck of a lot of straw, or whatever you have. I was taught with straw, that's what I know, that's what I do. So what I do is create a very thick base. You want about a foot to 2 feet of straw. With the weight and rain, everything will settle down. So it seems like you're wasting all this straw and there's way too much, but once the weight gets on it and it has a little bit of time to get rained on or snowed on, whatever, it will drop down. You need that base, and then put your offal on, spread it out. If you're doing a big process with hundreds of chickens, I highly recommend checking out any of Joel Salatin's work. He's the foremost expert on the subject, and that's also where I learn from too. So create a nice base of your offal and then layer it. So you're essentially layering it like a lasagna or any typical compost that you're doing, except just know that the layers of straw in between need to be tripled, quadrupled up. You need to add a heck of a lot of it. You want to contain that smell, and if there is a lot of it, it won't smell at all. So layer it. What I do is I layer my offal and then feathers, offal, straw, feathers, offal, straw, feathers until it's done. If you do this properly, it will not stink. It will not attract animals. But like I said, I still put it far away from the house just to keep things safe. And that's how it's done. Now, I hope this video has given you enough confidence to tackle this on your own. I know it might seem like a lot, and the first time I did it, I was definitely nervous. But you can do this yourself, and I want you to leave feeling confident. And take that next step in creating a life of your own design. Now, if you got value from this video and want to help out this new Homestead channel, like and subscribe. I'm Matt. This is High Garden Homestead. Go create the life of your dreams.